I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Donald Trump just filed what may be his most frivolous lawsuit yet, and that is saying a lot. He just sued his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, for $500 million in federal court in the Southern District of Florida. Every single aspect of this lawsuit is completely laughable and frivolous. And Donald Trump also references MeidasTouch multiple times in this federal lawsuit. So let's just take a look at this complete mess of a lawsuit that Donald Trump filed, which will inevitably get thrown out, and Donald Trump will likely get sanctioned for, as he did before in the Southern District of Florida. The first thing I note about this case, Donald Trump versus Michael Cohen in the United States District Court, Southern District of Florida, is the division that it is filed in. It's filed in Miami Division as opposed to West Palm Beach, where Donald Trump's previous lawsuits were filed. Why'd he file it in the Miami Division? Well, Donald Trump is trying to forum shop here because he's trying to avoid Judge Donald Middlebrooks, who's a federal judge in the Southern District of Florida, who sits within the West Palm Beach Division, who just sanctioned Donald Trump and his lawyer $1 million for filing a frivolous RICO or racketeering lawsuit back in March of 2022 against Hillary Clinton and numerous other defendants, like dozens of other individuals who should never have been sued in the first place. So that's why he filed in Miami. There's no basis of jurisdiction in Florida. There's no basis of jurisdiction in Miami at all. This case does not belong in Florida. And one of the reasons that Donald Trump files this in Florida is he argues that because Michael Cohen does business, like he has podcasts and has other business interests in Florida, that gives Florida and specifically Miami jurisdiction, which is just a incorrect legal argument. So this case will almost certainly get dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. Okay, what is Donald Trump suing Michael Cohen for? Well, according to the lawsuit, he's suing Michael Cohen for a few causes of action. He's suing Michael Cohen for breach of fiduciary duty is the first cause of action. The second cause of action is breach of contract. The third cause of action is breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. The fourth cause of action is for unjust enrichment, and the fifth cause of action is for conversion, which is basically a form of civil theft. And then you go to the prayer for relief in terms of the damages that Donald Trump is requesting on page 31. And Donald Trump requests actual, compensatory, and incidental and punitive damages and an amount to be determined at trial, but expected to substantially exceed $500 million. And where did Donald Trump get that number from? He just completely makes it up because he's trying to get a headline, and large media networks will see a number like $500 million and they'll write the headline, Donald Trump sues former attorney Michael Cohen for $500 million. But Donald Trump's completely pulled that number out of thin air, and it is completely a frivolous demand. Let's just go through some of these causes of action. And normally I like to give you very intelligent and informed legal analysis. I can give you intelligent and informed critical legal analysis of Donald Trump's complaints, but actually going through his complaints and trying to make logic or structure out of them is made impossible by the fact that these complaints and legal documents that Donald Trump files are completely frivolous. Just going in reverse order, the fifth cause of action for conversion, Donald Trump basically alleges that he overpaid Michael Cohen $74,000 for Michael Cohen's services to him. And as a result of that, Michael Cohen kept this money, and that constitutes a theft of Donald Trump's money, entitling Donald Trump to $500 million. That's a similar allegation in the unjust enrichment complaint cause of action. Donald Trump alleges that Cohen was unjustly enriched by $75,000, and therefore Donald Trump should get $500 million. the breach of fiduciary causes of action and the breach of contract cause of action essentially alleges that Michael Cohen was Donald Trump's lawyer, and by saying negative things about Donald Trump, by having podcasts that are critical of Donald Trump, by giving media interviews that were critical about Donald Trump, and by explaining and exposing Donald Trump's criminality, that caused injuries to Donald Trump. And he argues that Michael Cohen owed him confidential duties and responsibilities, and that Michael Cohen should not have, I guess, told the truth to the media about Donald Trump's crimes, and that caused Donald Trump injury here. One thing I do want to say, I want to show you where Donald Trump mentions MeidasTouch in this lawsuit in a moment, though. But Donald Trump just really opened up the floodgates here, for discovery, and it'll be interesting. And I'll ask this to Michael Cohen when we do our podcast together, Political Beatdown, which, by the way, you should subscribe to. Michael Cohen can set Donald Trump's deposition out and ask Donald Trump all of these questions about his criminality. And I could almost certainly bet you that Donald Trump is going to invoke his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination, as he always does. And so, Donald Trump here, he files these lawsuits to harass and intimidate. And obviously here he is very, very, very concerned about the charges brought by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, where Michael Cohen was one of the witnesses before the grand jury that was meeting in Manhattan, which ultimately voted to indict. And so this is Donald Trump's way of retaliating against Michael Cohen by filing this lawsuit, and also trying to encourage his cult members to harm Michael Cohen and put Michael Cohen's safety in jeopardy. You go to page 21, and this is where we start to be mentioned. There's a whole section on Michael Cohen's podcasts, executive produced by the MeidasTouch network. And there's like numerous paragraphs here that talk about the various guests we've had on. The paragraph 107 says the podcast is produced by MeidasTouch. In the more than 250 episodes on the podcast produced to date, defendant repeatedly and consistently reveals or purports to reveal confidential information gleaned by nature of his prior attorney-client relationship with Donald Trump, as well as information pertaining to plaintiff's personal and private life. As with the books, a significant amount of information revealed on the podcast is inflammatory, misleading, or outright false, he says. And that's because Donald Trump lies about everything. And so when Michael Cohen gets to finally take Donald Trump's deposition in this case, he'll going to ask him, okay, list every single thing that you believe was false, and produce all documents regarding everything that you say is false. Go list each and every one of those things. And at the same time, Donald Trump whines and wants to play the victim with this $500 million lawsuit against Michael Cohen, right? Donald Trump was on his social media platform just completely threatening and bashing Michael Cohen. Donald Trump wrote, for example, before the indictment was handed down by the criminal grand jury, just reported that the most important witness to go before the New York City grand jury, a highly respected lawyer who once represented convicted felon, jailbird, and serial fake storyteller and liar Michael Cohen, will be doing so tomorrow afternoon. The information he will present will supposedly be conclusive and irrefutable witch hunt. He's referring to Robert Costello, who the grand jury absolutely detested and despised. And Robert Costello claimed that there was no attorney-client privilege with respect to Michael Cohen, and tried to bash Michael Cohen in front of the grand jury. The grand jury was not having it, and they believed Michael Cohen. I'll just show you other posts by Trump. If disbarred and fully discredited lawyer Michael Cohen is not indicted for perjury, then perjury does not exist. Donald Trump also writes, "It is being said that disbarred lawyer Michael Cohen is put out to dry today after his highly respected former attorney and legal advisor Robert Costello made a great impression not only on the DA's office, but the grand jury itself. He's known to be a great lawyer and highly honorable man. He stated to the media that he could no longer listen to the lies that Cohen was spreading. He told the truth with papers, documents, and backup. He left zero doubt the DA will do the right thing." Of course, these were the posts before Donald Trump was criminally indicted by the grand jury in Manhattan. By the way, I also think that Michael Cohen has a lawsuit against Donald Trump for defamation, the same way that E. Jean Carroll is bringing a defamation case against Donald Trump for his statements lying about his sexual assault that he engaged in on her. I mean, I think that Michael Cohen has the ability to bring a defamation case against Donald Trump for his false and defamatory statements about Cohen. So we'll ultimately see if Cohen files a cross complaint against Donald Trump for defamation. But here's what I think the steps are going to be. This case does not belong in Miami, number one. If it should go anywhere in Florida, which I don't believe there's jurisdiction, it would be the West Palm Beach division, likely before Judge Middlebrooks, who's previously sanctioned Donald Trump $1 million. So Donald Trump filed it in the wrong division. So first motion is to either move it to the West Palm Beach division, number one, where Donald Trump at least lives, but more likely it's a lack of personal jurisdiction in Florida anyway. You would take that case and then you would move to dismiss it. It would likely have to be refiled and brought in New York. And then Michael Cohen would file a 12B6 motion under Federal Rule 12B6, a motion to dismiss the lawsuit brought by Donald Trump. It's likely all time barred by the statute of limitations, number one. Number two, it's likely subject to numerous other First Amendment immunities that Michael Cohen has. Number three, it doesn't really state a cause of action at all. But even if you get past that, strategically, maybe Michael Cohen answers the complaint, and then he starts going right into discovery. Set the deposition of Donald Trump right away, and start asking Donald Trump all of these questions that Donald Trump's not going to sit for that deposition. Ask him all the questions about his crimes. Donald Trump's opened the door for that. So we'll keep you posted here, but want to report on that frivolous lawsuit brought by Donald Trump. The fact that he did mention MeidasTouch in that complaint that he filed against Michael Cohen, why he filed it in that area, why he was forum shopping, what is likely to happen next. And of course, we'll ask Michael Cohen about it on Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe. We are on our way to 1.5 million subscribers here, thanks to your support. And obviously, Donald Trump is very familiar with our podcasts and our content here, and it makes him very, very, very nervous. That's what happens when you tell the truth. Thank you all for your support. You can also subscribe to our audio podcast. Just search the MeidasTouch podcast. It's free wherever you get your audio podcast. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas. Oh, you could also become a member of our Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas. Have a great day.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.